by using a personal AI assistant that would make a giant impact on sales.
And what are your 3 favorite tools to enhance your sales process?
Right now, I think HubSpot really needs to be a number 1 as a tool that helps me. Of course, everybody knows HubSpot. It's a big CRM, and there's a lot of improvements that they can do. Then secondly, I'd say TLDV. TLDV is a meeting recorder that does Dutch transcriptions also quite well. And then third, it is ChatGPT. What I like to do with ChatGPT is meeting prep. This means getting the right follow-up at the right time. I have an agent for that that basically scrapes the website, their most important things, and also theorizes on what their goals could be. So in 1 minute, I get a pretty good meeting prep. So yeah, scraping and then actually using that data to implement highly relevant campaigns are the most valuable things that you can do. And I would even go so far as to say that by using AI, sales agents can be more than twice as effective.
Welcome, Stijn.
Thank you very much.
To the Redefine
Bart.
Growth podcast, another episode. What we're going to talk about today is the future of sales. Everything you need to know as a sales representative, a business developer, or a customer success manager, the things you should do and you shouldn't do. Should you use AI? Shouldn't you? Should you do more personalized outreach, or shouldn't you do outreach at all? So what are the trends? What do we see? You're an expert in sales, so I'm happy to have you here. Do you like to add something to that introduction? Or?
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to especially talking about the future of sales. We, of course, work together quite a lot, and we see some trends I think that are quite interesting to talk about. So yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you for having me.
All right, cool. Let's kick off. So what are the most important trends that you see happening starting from last year and probably move on to the upcoming years that you want to share?
Yeah, so what I see quite a lot is that there's a lot of, especially B2B companies, still focused highly on sales, and I would say that they're also quite dependent on sales. Actually, I'm just going to start off with a quick tip for every company that's listening. Something that I like to do when I'm visiting a website to scope what they're focusing on is a little game I'd like to call sorry, but you can't talk to sales. So what you basically do is you go to a website, B2B website, and you try to see how badly they want you to contact sales. And usually you find this pretty quickly because they want you to connect with sales so badly. Like everything is optimized to connect with sales. However, the whole buyer journey has changed quite a lot in the past, I'd say 3-4 years. So what you see right now is that the buyer journey does not go simply from you find their website, you contact sales, and you buy something. That's just not how it goes anymore. Pandora's box has been opened a bit, which means that companies like to, like to shop around, look around, as if you're going into a physical store, into a department store, maybe even, where you go look at 60 different things, then you decide on 10 of the things that you might be interested in, and then you take 3 walks around the store, and then you decide on the one thing that you actually want to buy. By then you have compared prices, you have, already all the benefits of the different objects, and you're quite ready to make your decision. What this means in current B2B online landscape is that about 80 to 90% of the whole buyer journey is not interacting with sales. So when does sales come in? Sales comes in entirely at the end. So if you're focusing on getting people to talk to sales when they're at 40% of that buyer journey, you're just too early, and people don't want to talk to sales yet. They want to do their research. They want to compare prices. They want to shop around and maybe, listen to a podcast and maybe do a demo, see a tutorial that somebody from customer success made for an existing partner, or like an onboarding video. They want to do all that shopping themselves. And then when they are ready, they will contact you to get in touch with sales. So if you're gatekeeping all of the most important information behind a book a demo or call sales button, you're basically gatekeeping the information that you have in order for them to make their decision. You're gatekeeping that, and it doesn't make any sense. Yet, so many companies are doing it. And it's quite a shame. So that's one of the big things that I see right now. So play this game. It's called I'm sorry, you can't talk to sales. Play it with your own website and see what you find out.
So do you like this episode? Please hit that like and subscribe button because there's more exciting stuff to come. All about impact, growth. I'm gonna redefine it. Stay tuned. Okay, nice. And I think it's in line with a trend there where I used to see a lot of companies that were selling long-term contracts with a long sales cycle, etc. I now see more and more companies making it easier to actually start with the product. So by looking at the demo, but also have a freemium to premium model where you can actually try it yourself. And I think about 40% of the younger adults nowadays are scared to call people, but also scared to pick up the phone, which is quite interesting if you realize that as a salesperson, because they would normally pick up the phone as quickly as possible, right, and be in touch, but they rather look around a little bit and be informed in other ways and before making that. So that what you're saying is that the process before doing a purchase is way more online and looking around and different sources, comparison, review, and all the other ones you mentioned. And then the purchase is made, but they're only going to talk if it's actually needed. Maybe also because they're a little bit scared. I'm part of the older generation because I'm not so scared to call, and you're not scared to call. But you might be one of the 60% in that group of people.
Yeah, I believe I'm right on the edge of being Gen Z and being a millennial. And it's a very funny phenomenon to me. So in Dutch it's called belangst, and I really like that it's called that, such a simple word. But yeah, apparently a lot of Gen Z has a fear of calling. And it is funny to me because it's you're building a barrier between actual contact. And it's so logical that this happened to me because right now, if you look at teens, sometimes they have a relationship and they don't even talk on WhatsApp anymore. They talk only through Snapchat. Everything has become chatting, no more calling, not even texting. So yeah, they'd rather send an email than give a quick call. And I think that calling right now is one of the most powerful tools that you have. It is so much easier to read somebody's, I want to say body language, but the way that somebody speaks to you tells you so much about their intentions, tells you so much about what they want, if they have more to say. And it's really a lot easier to listen. And I'd say that sales is about 90% is only listening. And then the 10% is interpreting what they say, and taking all the information that they give you, picking the right things from it, and see how your solution may benefit what they have been saying. So if you don't add a way that you are able to listen to them, to your sales process, yeah, you're missing out. And I think that this is actually a huge opportunity for people that are in Gen Z right now, because in the end, there's people going into retirement. There's only people that are not Gen Z exiting the job market, also in sales. So yeah, if you do not have that barrier and you feel it's quite easy to pick up the phone, I'd say that's a huge skill, and people should use it more often. People don't know this about me, but I started doing sales on a door-to-door kind of job, street sales, which is, it gets a bad rap. And I can see why most people find it very annoying. And I can also truly understand why. I have found it annoying myself very, very often. But the thing is that you really learn how to interact with people on the street because you just do it so often. Every minute you're interacting with people. And when I was doing the street sales, door-to-door kind of thing, what I noticed was there's basically two kind of salespeople that perform well. There's the first group, and they are, if you have to give them a color, they are super red. They go talk to everybody, and it's a numbers game for them. They know if they talk to 20 people, one of them signs a contract for a non-profit or for newspapers or for HelloFresh, for example, all the things that they sell door to door and on the streets. And that works quite well. Those guys and girls, they can just go on an hour-long, non-stop interaction spree, sell a bunch of stuff, and then at the end of the day, they make a big chunk of money. But then they're also like they're useless for the rest of the day. All their energy is gone, which is very logical. And then there's a second type of salesperson, and that's the type that I am. And I would not go talk to everybody. I had just in my mind, I only want to have fun conversations today. And the selling is something, is a secondary. I only want to have fun conversations, otherwise I don't have a nice day. So what I did is I only looked for people that I thought I could have a nice conversation with. And turns out that if you have a nice conversation, it's quite easy to sell to people, especially if you have something that they could enjoy, could like, that fits their profile. So I did a lot of scoping and then had conversations that were, I think, on average 3 to 4 times as long as the average conversation that the other guys were having. But I performed quite well as well, which meant for me that, let's call them the type 1 guys, they could come back at the end of the day and they'd have like 10 or 12 sales, which is quite good. But they would also have days that they would have 2 or 3, and that would barely make targets. And then the type 2 kind of salesperson, let's call it the Stijn type, they would always come back with 7. Always. Always come back with 7 and have a fun day and have energy at the end of the day. Now, I'm not saying that there's a good way or a bad way to do it, but I know for sure that I had more fun and more personal interactions.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about, having that personal interactions. But while they're spending 90% of their time not with a person, now online, I think there's a challenge for the salespeople nowadays to make it personal. And I believe there's a huge opportunity to differentiate yourself, because with AI, everybody's going to produce a whole lot of high quality content. So it's becoming harder to differentiate yourself there. You need to be aware of that buyer journey, which is 95% not talking to anyone. So you have to find for ways to connect with people. And I believe that it's not only connecting with a one-on-one meeting, for example, but connecting could also be seeing someone at an event, or seeing someone in a podcast, or seeing someone on stage. Or these are also like opportunities to connect with people, because if you see a video of a person, that really makes you think that you might know the person, because you listen to the person and you might get a feeling of who that person is, what he believes in, the vision, and being a guide for them to choose the right software, product, or whatever. So the one-on-one meetings, do you have any ideas on how to make that personal connection when 95% of the time purchasers are not talking to anyone within sales?
Yeah, 100%. And there was one important one that I don't know if you left it out intentionally for me to pick up on, and that is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an absolute game changer for people in sales, I'd say. That also means that people in sales need to do marketing. But becoming a thought leader and showing the world that you understand, first that you understand their problem, and then sometimes that you can also show that you have solved their problem on numerous occasions, that you are able to solve their problem, and also why you're able to solve their problem. So what is behind it? And that comes back to the not gatekeeping information part. If you are able to share that value, people will know you on a more personal level, but will also already know what you have to offer, which is quite useful. I started posting and really leveraging LinkedIn about 4.5 months ago. And to me, it's quite insane how much that has already brought me. If we do an event, a Sprints and Sneakers event now, people already know who I am. That is so useful. Not in the least because people already only talk to people they already know a bit. If somebody in my network posts something and I want to send them a message, now I get a reply 90% of the times. Whereas before that would maybe be 30-40%. So in getting replies, in getting to that part of personal conversation, the road to getting there, LinkedIn is the way to go. It's quite funny now because like I wouldn't consider myself a thought leader yet. I wouldn't consider myself an expert on LinkedIn specifically, but people from my network are already contacting me to help them with their personal strategy, which is fun and which kind of tells a lot.
Yeah, what I believe what could be helpful for people to create that personal brand is to create a content house. That what we used to do for a lot of brands as well. But you can apply for your personal brand as well. So you build a house, and on top of the house, there's the target audience that you want to write for, that you want in your network. Then second is the core message that you want to share. So what is your vision? What is the feeling people want to get when they think of you? And then you have a couple of pillars that build the house. So one of the pillar for me could be making positive impact. Another pillar could be company growth strategy. Another pillar could be, I don't know, my family or the people within Sprints and Sneakers. And then you balance those pillars to create that one personal brand that you're looking for. And it also becomes your content planning, right? So you post 2 times a week on impact and 1 time a week on growth strategy. And that together creates that feeling that people have of you and connects with the target audience you're looking for. And I think if you look at what we're doing at Sprints and Sneakers with a couple of people that are pretty active on LinkedIn, of which one you are, but that combined, we got so much reach. And you hear so many people say, oh, you're all over the place, right? So, and if you look at the sales process, what you're saying as well, so people are on the event, they already know you, so they already got these touch points, and they're already more familiar with what we do, and they're already like a step closer towards signing a deal at the end, because you need that trust, you need that relation, and you need that people touch points in the end to become a client.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned this because I hear this quite a lot as well. Like, you guys are everywhere on my timeline, and then at the same time I can be like, I think my colleagues should post more. At the same time that my network is already saying, like, you guys are all over the place. When I open LinkedIn, sometimes it's only Sprints and Sneakers. Quite funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I have a question for you, actually. What do you think will be replaced by AI in the job of a salesman?
It really depends on the product. So I believe if you have a product that is for a large audience, that I think in general, like you see that customer supports these chats, and like the basic questions can easily be asked by AI. If you look at it from we have some partners that only have like a target list of 150 potential clients, then at this point, I wouldn't leverage AI too much, because it's worth the personal investment rather than using AI. What we see now is it could be really helpful in gathering information that could be very, very helpful, right? So understanding your target audience, what are their main priorities in the upcoming years, and then gather all that data and make summaries out of it, or every meeting that you do, use AI to make transcripts and analyze these transcripts. So what are the trends that we see? And processing the information with AI is definitely something that could be super helpful. I believe that everybody's going to use AI. So to differentiate there, then you come back to, hey, create that personal relation. So if you send a voice message via LinkedIn or send a WhatsApp to a person that you talk to rather than an email, these are the ways how you can really differentiate yourself, I think. And we really have to understand that the AI that people are using, everybody will use that at some point. So then how are you going to really differentiate there? So I think we should really be aware of that at this point.
Yeah. So first off, I agree. Second off, I think there's two things that are going to be widely implemented in AI implemented in sales. First off is sales coaching. So every meeting that you do, every online meeting, just like we're now using a meeting recorder that makes a transcript, we will use a coach basically to record it, to transcribe it, and really to make you better at doing your job. I don't even think that that's a sales specific thing. I think everybody gets a personal coach in the near future.
Yeah, on all aspects, like a personal coach for going to the fitness coach, finance coach, like whatever. You can create your own coaches, a whole army of coaches, I believe.
Yeah, I'd even say that once the AR overlays are going to become mainstream, think the Apple Vision Pro, Meta's probably coming out with a new headset that does something quite the same and looks a little less bulky. You don't even have to go shopping without an overlay anymore. So and it's actually funny because that will impact sales massively. If there's an overlay that can block all non-healthy food products, you just don't see them in the supermarket, that will impact sales massively. Just like it'll be, I think, maybe 6 months at the most before there's an overlay that just lets you block ads outside in the public space, like a real-life ad blocker. Could be quite fun to have all the ads replaced by Nicolas Cage's face. Yeah, I think that was one of the first things that people really did with Chrome extensions, was just change every image on every website to Nicolas Cage, and that was an extension that you could download on somebody else's computer and they would freak out. And I think that that's something that we're going to see real quick with AR as well, just every image becomes Nicolas Cage.
Fun fact, I slept in Nicolas Cage's house in San Francisco once, so it's quite interesting. He had an interesting room with cameras of his house and then mattresses and so on. I'm not sure what happened there in the past, but it was interesting.
Can we do at the end of this podcast a quick tangent where you tell about Nicolas Cage's house?
We might.
Yeah, it's a little treat for people who listen all the way to the end. Or skip to it right now, but you never know. So that's one thing, right? Is a personal coach on whatever job you're doing, especially in sales, because it's so interactive and you don't really often get coached because somebody has to or be there or rewatch the meeting. And right now we're using TLDV and I can send snippets to you to coach me, which is something fun, which also means, and this is a quick tip for everybody in sales, if you download a meeting recorder that you can send snippets with, you can record your sales meetings, then send snippets to your colleagues where you're unsure about how you managed a situation or a question, or if you even gave the right answer or the right answer in the best way. It's super easy to get little snippets of coaching from your colleagues, and your lead is a super big tip.
What I also want to add is that this coach can also, if you combine scraping and gathering data with that coach that's processing that data, you can get data from the most recent LinkedIn posts of that person, the recent news of the company, the recent investment that they got. So you can gather all that information. You can ask AI to visit their website and come up with ideas that are relevant for that person that you're talking to. You can create so much value for the person talking to them without spending hours of preparation, because this is all on autopilot created for you.
Yeah, and I quite love that you mentioned this, because this is almost exactly the second part, is a personal assistant in sales by AI. And this means meeting preparations. This means getting the right follow-up at the right time, every time. I know a lot of salespeople, and they can be a little bit chaotic. All of them are hugely extroverted, which also often means that they are a little bit less structured. So to really combat that by using a personal AI assistant, that would make a giant impact on sales. And I would even go so far as to say that sales agents can be more than twice as effective.
And what are your 3 favorite tools to enhance your sales process?
Right now, it's I think HubSpot really needs to be a number 1 as a tool that helps me. Of course, everybody knows HubSpot. It's a big CRM. And there's a lot of improvements that they can do, but yeah, it helps me the most. Then secondly, I'd say TLDV. And TLDV, I mentioned it early before, TLDV is a meeting recorder that does Dutch transcriptions also quite well. And then third, I'd say right now, it is ChatGPT. I wanted to say like basic old ChatGPT, but so old it's really not that old. What I like to do with ChatGPT is meeting prep. So I have an agent for that that basically scrapes the website, their most important things, and also theorizes on what their goals could be. So in 1 minute, I get a pretty good meeting prep. Yeah, that's pretty good. I can share it with you.
Yeah, maybe we should add Clay as another one to gather a lot of information about these companies and like what Bob built. If you all gather the information in a sheet and then you let ChatGPT do its thing based on the information that you already gathered via other sources, I think that's a super powerful way of getting insights that are not that easy to find yourself, or at least you need to go to a lot of sources to gather that information. So that's might be another good one to add.
Yeah, so I again completely agree. I see still a little bit of a what is sales and what is marketing. Maybe we should talk about that real quick. So really, what is sales and what is marketing? Because they have started to overlap.
For sure.
More than a bit. And I see myself doing marketing right now. But then there's also like the technical marketing that I am very much unable to do. I wish I could, but we need some growth wizards for that. So we of course have our own internal growth team, which is a team just like a team that we would set on a partner of ours that helps with the really like the hacky growth marketing stuff in getting new business. For that, a whole different array of tools you can mention. Clay is a very big one. I'm a very big fan of Clay, although it is quite new. For people that are listening, Clay is basically an Excel sheet on steroids, where you can add almost any point of data, and it helps you scrape that data as well. So for an example, something that we have done in the past is this was for a electric vehicle charging point. What do you call it? A distributor, I'd say. We would scrape job openings, job postings, for example, on Indeed and other job websites. And if they would mention electric vehicles, that you could drive an electric vehicle, we checked automatically where the nearest charging station would be. And if it was further than, I think, 260 meters or something like that, we would automatically send them an email saying, hey, we see that you mentioned electric driving in your job posting. The nearest charging station is more than comfortable walking distance away. Would it be interesting to discover how you can actually get charging stations
right in front of your door?
Right in front of your door. Yeah, so in order to be super relevant, and I think that sales is relevancy and authenticity, mostly. To be super relevant is like a superpower, especially now because I can't come up with that. Like I can't come up with the companies that have that in their job description and don't have a charging station near them. That's not something that you can just search up, or you can and it takes you forever. So yeah, scraping and then actually using that data to implement highly relevant campaigns is one of the most valuable things that you can do.
Yeah, and I think what I like about this is that the better you understand the people that you're talking to, the more value you can provide. So, and I think there's also a big change in how the salesperson acts nowadays. You want to be a guide way more rather than pushing a product that you're planning to sell. And I literally discussed it with you as well. So we sit next to our client partner, that we call them. We literally go sit next to them and then look at Sprints and Sneakers, and if we're a good fit. And if we're not a good fit, then we're not going to recommend them to work with us, right? So we're there to help them understand their challenges and offer the best help and value we can in whatever way. It could be with content that we provide, or with podcasts that we host, or with events that we organize, or with the job that we can, the work that we can offer them. But it's all about them, the value we can provide, and if we're a good fit, rather than pushing something that we're planning to sell. And I think that's something people should be really aware of nowadays. That it's that role has changed. Also, if you look at the books that I read in the past, I think that's that you need a new approach there, planning to help them.
Yeah, for sure. And I really love that we have partnerships instead of like customer-client relations. So the difference for me really is that you are also a strategic sparring partner, and that also calls them out when they're not delivering. So for example, if there is a bunch of leads generated, and at some point they will have to be followed up by sales. And if that doesn't happen, then we can never be successful. And I think it's a very good position that you are actually able to have a discussion about that. Why does that sometimes not happen? And also, what can we do so that we can make sure that it happens? We are together responsible for growth. And that also means that that can only happen in a partnership. And otherwise, you still get the ancient old series of events where, you have marketing, they throw leads over the edge, and then there's the sales department, the internal sales department, they say, oh, this is lovely, what the fuck is this? And then they will throw it back over the border or over the hedge again, and nobody is happy, everybody is irritated, and no sales are being made. And thus no growth is being achieved.
Yeah, and that's what I like about how we look at growth, which is full funnel. So, and also in line with salespeople become more marketeers become more salespeople, because there might be an online transaction and they might not even talk to sales. For example, in a SaaS business or whatever business you're in, and then the product should be involved as well, because you can really leverage your product to realize growth. Look at HubSpot you were talking about. So they make it super. It's the free CRM for startups. Right, so they make it super easy to start using it, and then only if you want to use their calendar, then they charge you some money. If you go above 1,000 contacts, they charge you some more. But they offer so much value so they can use it. So they went from more like an lead gen, then try to sell long-term contracts for a high price. They went to product-led growth, make it easy for people to onboard and use the product, and then the salespeople can more work on the relationship. Explain how they can leverage the product more, so additional packages that they can offer, etc. So the model there changes, but it all works together, and it's not isolated. So sales follow up on the leads and they call and they try to close the deal. No, it's they should be involved in that whole process, just as marketing should be involved in the sales process as well, because sales can only, well, you cannot call them every day to ask, but you can show them some ads with relevant cases or relevant content where you have that additional touch points which make them think about your offer again. And then when the time is right, you can still make that call or send them a WhatsApp or LinkedIn message. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and a funny experience that I think ties into what you're saying today is that somebody wanted to move a introduction meeting because they weren't available anymore, which is obviously fine. What I did instead of just booking another introduction meeting, I sent them to the webinar that we're doing next month from Jeroen. It's an e-commerce partij. And instead of doing an introduction meeting, which is also super valuable, I sent them an invite for something that is even more valuable for them. Only sharing value. I really believe in that. And then you're never a burden or annoying or irritating. So I think that we really should get rid of the bad rep that sales has by stopping to do things that don't provide any value.
Is that also the advice that you would give a sales rep, business developer nowadays? Or what is the one thing you would recommend people to do this year to become successful? What is your secret ingredient?
My secret ingredient is, I think, being empathic, which means listening, active listening. Really train your listening skills. What does it mean to listen? If you listen to somebody, can you actually write down 15 minutes later what has been said? And not only what has been said, but also what they meant by it. I think that's one of the most important things. And I think also that will never change. So if you really invest in your listening skill, you will always reap the benefits of that. However much AI will enter into your life, that will always be important.
How do they do that? How do you improve your listening skills?
Good question. You can improve your listening skills by asking if how you understood something is correct. And this is actually something that I do quite often. What this means is you tell me something, I ask you a question, you tell me something, then you ask back, okay, so if I get it right, this is what you mean. So you paraphrase what they have said into your own words, then they know that you understand what they mean and that you understand them in turn, and you know that you have picked up everything right. And it's even better if they then adjust what you have fed them back. Because then you get really deep into what they really need. And it's really all about getting into what they really need.
And I think this is so powerful also in meetings within colleagues. Or I remember when Dominique was invited, she was one of the only female combat helicopter pilots in the Netherlands, and she explained like how that works within the army, the military environment. So the debrief that they do is so valuable because sometimes you have a meeting and you believe that the things that you said resonated or everybody has the same picture of what should be done, but that's not always the case, right? So we can look at one glass here, but you're looking at this same glass, but you're looking at it from the different side, right? So you can have a different understanding, and by repeating what you heard, I think it's people felt understood and they felt heard. So it's I think it's very powerful.
Yeah, a really big shout out to Dominique, because we did a strategy day with a workshop from Dominique in which we did a bunch of exercises that really showed that you really don't listen to each other. And but it actually stuck with me quite a lot, because even today I had a conversation with a colleague where I did ask for a debrief and it turned out that they didn't understand me. So I'm still using it to this day, also outside of the whole sales ID. But sales gets a bad rep because people don't listen. I really believe that.
Yeah, Well, one of the first models that I learned is from the sales manager of a company I used to work in. It's called the SPIN method, and it's quite old actually already, but it stands for the situation, the problem, the implication, and the need. So, and it's all about asking the right question to understand their situation, the potential problems that they face. Right, so how are you going to compete with Amazon on Bol? You cannot compete on price. You cannot compete on delivery time. So that's the situation you're in. So, and that's also a problem. So the implication of that is that you don't have a competitive edge only if you have a very good brand or a unique product, or you are one of the platforms yourself. And then you can come up with a potential need by saying, hey, would it be relevant to improve your product, to be unique or whatever? Would it be relevant to invest in your brand? So, but first you have to understand the situation and with the potential problems and implications, as you can never understand the need that they have. All right. And from that perspective, I believe, not so much have changed. If you use that vision, and it's all about asking questions and listening, that's what you're saying as well.
Yeah. Actually have a fun exercise that people listening to this can do as well. It is actually a writing exercise by a writer that I'm currently reading a book of. He's called Brandon Sanderson. He writes fantasy books. So it's getting very interesting how this will become a sales tip. But it's a writing exercise from him, and it's called A Stranger Rides into Town. And it's a writing exercise where you have your setting, your environment, and a person who has never been there walks or rides through town. What does he see? Every person in sales should do this with their office. If you invite people over to your office, you should envision from their mind what your office looks like, what will they see, and are you happy with what they will see? And I don't even think that this should stick mainly to sales. I think this should also go for hiring. If there is a job applicant walking in the office, what will they see, and what will they see? What will they experience? Very powerful exercise. You can just write it down, and you will get important insights out of it.
Yeah, and I would even go a step further, because if you want to know, my vision on a brand is every interaction that you have with every person at every moment. So even if the garbage man comes in for a coffee, or the delivery guy, I give them a Coke for on his way. So every interaction that you have with your brand, online, offline, with people that are not within your target audience, but are delivering the groceries, doesn't really matter. I believe every interaction should be valuable, and it comes back to delivering value at any point. You're trying to deliver value on LinkedIn, in a meeting that you do, on the events that you talk with them. Every interaction should be a valuable one. And that also builds your brand. I believe. So it's not only sales that should do it. Everybody's in sales. That's what we always say. Everybody's in there to provide value at any time, right? So, and that's what sales means for us, I believe. So everybody is always providing value. And I think he even came up with a model that helps with that. The AAA, any place, anywhere, anytime. We're trying to deliver value for the people that we want to help. And in our case, these are companies that are trying to make a positive impact.
Yeah, for sure. And coming back to something that you said a little bit earlier, about that we sit next to people and not in front of them. I think it's very important to know that we also don't work with everybody. There's a few things that are important for us before we start working together. We have defined a few things recently, like the cool, the care, and the cash. This is something actually that I learned from Ron Simpson, somebody who was in your podcast, I think, a few weeks ago. I wanted to do a job that he had, which I didn't turn out doing in the end. But I asked him, like, how do you pick projects? And he says it needs to have the cool, the cash, and the care. So the cool, do I get crazy amounts of energy from doing this project? The cash, are they able to pay? And the care, do I care if this project succeeds? In our case, this would mean, are they making impact? Or do they care about the world and the environment? So that's very important. But we also have the growth maturity. And people don't know what the growth maturity is. The growth maturity model is basically a heat map that signals to us where the pain points will lie in your growth. And if there are too many pain points, and a pain point can be many different things. A pain point can be a completely non-functional website. A pain point can be a non-implemented CRM, or just not a CRM at all. That sometimes happens as well. Or a pain point could be a high reliance on investors, for example. Well, if you combine too many of these pain points, then we might also say we see too much of an obstacle working together, because there is more than growth marketing that you need for growth.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about it is and I think that's also good advice for everyone that's listening and is within sales, is it's really good to understand who you are for, because if you're something for everyone, you're nothing to nobody, right? So to understand with which partners you're getting successful, and also mentioning like, hey, if you're looking for XYZ, we're the company to work with. If you're looking for this, then we're not the company. And sometimes the salespeople want to push everything they can, but I think it's really strong to explain what you do and what you don't do. So that really clears, I think, the mind of the people that you're talking to, and position yourself in the because if you don't, then it's a short-term vision, I believe, right? So if you're gonna acquire partners and companies that actually are not looking for what you offer, then that's only useful for a couple of months, and then in the long run you're not going to win. In the long run you're not going to build the business that you're aiming for. So really understanding what you do for what people, what businesses, I think is super valuable to understand and to mention.
Yeah, and that's on a company level, but I just, as a person, I feel it so much. I feel so responsible for the companies that I attract and that I partner up with, as for instance Sneakers. I feel so responsible for them. If I get in a company that won't be able to grow, I can't do that. That kills me.
Yeah, and that's why the growth maturity model you're talking about is so important, right? Because we really have to understand if we're capable of becoming successful together, and what is needed for it. And we go, like you're saying, it's more than growth marketing that is needed to become successful, right? It's the timing in the market in general. It's the team that is there. It's the money that's available, and to have all these things in place, and then add the turbo that we are to increase the speed of growing. Then you will be able to become successful. But if they're not willing to have all the right assets in place, then it's never going to work, unfortunately, and that would be easier. But
yeah, so if I could give another tip to people in sales, don't sell to people where you cannot be successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that might not be that's why I also think it's important to think of the target of sales, right? So if sales only gets a target of acquiring new business, that might hurt your retention rate at the back of your company, right? So if you're focused on growing a company, you should be really aware of what we often see is that sales reps are either focusing on account management, current clients, or new business. And if they're focusing on both, but you only have like a commission or bonus on new contracted value, that's where they will go probably, right? So that's also, I think, a challenging one in terms of having salespeople going in the right direction. Because if you look at it from a business perspective as a founder, you want to have the right partners in, because that in the end will lead to a higher retention rate, a healthier business, happier clients, and all these things, rather than signing a huge contract, which is maybe for the sales rep itself the right thing to do if you have that structure, which I wouldn't recommend. But yeah, I think that's good to think of. And for us, it's I think we love team bonuses more than individual ones. I see a lot of different approaches to that. But I believe, having a team bonus will benefit the way of work and the collaboration between salespeople, but also the whole team within a company.
Yeah, for sure. I have a question for you that is not entirely related to sales, but I am very curious about what you think about it. Because it is a trend that I see. And it's more a question to somebody who is leading a company. How do you look at the whole working from home trend?
Switch of topic.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question. So I've first always said, like, wherever there's Wi-Fi, you can work wherever there's Wi-Fi. I never said people needed to be at the office. They could work wherever they wanted to work. We do notice that, especially some people that just started working, you need to help them a little bit to understand how you behave in a working environment, what is expected from you, what are the things you can do or you can't do. So they need a little bit of help and guidance. And it's harder to coach someone when they're at home than when they're at the office. It's easier. So one of the challenges I personally had was during COVID. Everybody was working from home. I couldn't see how people were doing. Like, if I see you walking in the office, I wouldn't say I can read your mind, but I can look at you, and without saying anything, I can do an estimate of how you're feeling. And that's why we do huddles pretty often, so you can see each other and look each other in the eye and get an understanding of how someone is feeling. And that is really hard if someone is at home. And I couldn't like, I sometimes see someone online in Slack at 10 o'clock in the evening. Could mean someone started at 3 and still working late. It also could mean that someone is really stressed and is working over hours, but it was really hard to manage. So I personally rather have people being at the office, and I try to we're moving with our office soon. Pretty exciting, because I also made me think about, so what is a partner or someone walks in the office thinking, and I really believe that we needed that next step in getting a more professional office. I try to make the office so cool that everybody wants to be at the office without saying, hey, you need to be there 2 times a week. I just look at Google, for example. They just made it so attracting with all the lunch, the gyms, like everything is in place to spend a lot of time there. You can even get the barber to get your hair done, etc. So
it's something that I need right now.
Yeah, so that's what I believe, and it's different for every person. You see companies that started a remote environment. I think Zoom is one of the companies that don't really have an office, so that everybody's working from. If you started that from the beginning, I do think the hybrid is still challenging sometimes, and to give them some guidance. So okay, it's different for every person. So I don't believe there's a one size fits all, but I love to see people at the office even now and then, because it's also the connection that you want to build. I'm not doing this. I'm not running the business only to obviously to make impact and to build a business, but also with the relationships that you build with your colleagues and the fun that you have. So it's more fun if you're together at the office, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think there are 3 things that are way better if you work at the office. That's the fun. That is your learning curve. You pick up things way quicker, with more people, with more input. So the fun, the learning curve, and a third one that I also had in my head, but not anymore.
Yeah, I think take care of each other. Yeah. Right. So you have fun with each other. You're learning more, but there's also you're capable of taking care of each other way better, because I believe that you can see someone, right? You can feel someone, and that's pretty hard. I think also via video call, it's harder to feel someone.
Yeah, the third one I wanted to mention, quite similar, not exactly the same, is connection. Not only connection to the company, but also to the team. So yeah. I know that if I don't start the first day of the week in the office, I feel less connected to my colleagues and my team. So for me, the first day working in office is very important. At the same time, I'll be moving out of Amsterdam in June, and I know that I would like to work 2 days a week from home.
Well, you can't.
Yeah, so I think it's been a bit of a Trojan horse working from home. I think that it has a lot of good sides, but I think that there needs to be some rules around it.
And I think if you go back to sales, I think the personal connection, I still prefer offline meetings. It could be that talking to someone to an event, or having someone over, coming over at the office, or visiting someone. And I think first introduction online is fine. But then if you really want to work together, I think it's really important that you see each other and sit together in a room, because then, yeah, it's still different, I believe. But it might also be like I'm getting a bit old and just prefer that old school personal relation rather than sitting in front of a screen.
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree on a lot of things today.
Do you prefer still like the offline meetings rather than online?
What I really like is that it saves me so much time to do online meetings. I can do 8 meetings in a day right now. I could never do that if it were in the office, or if I had to go to somebody else's office. I think the model of account managers just driving around all day visiting existing or new partners, clients, I think that's completely outdated and not very respectful of people's time.
Yeah.
And unnecessary. Yeah. And this might be a bit of a hot take, because there's still so many people working exactly like that that have just started up again doing that after COVID. But I think it's an outdated system, and I think that people should be more aware of how valuable their time is.
Yeah. Do you think you have the same closing rate with online meeting as offline?
No, I think it's slightly less, but that is counteracted by the fact that you can do many, many more.
Yeah, I also believe that there can be an order in it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not going to drive 2 hours to Limburg, not knowing if that company is a good fit, right? So to do the sort of qualification online and understand what they're looking for, and if we are a good fit, or the other way around, then it's a better use of your time. And then if you're working together, then I think it's really relevant to have lunch and enjoy some time together.
At the same time, I do really love getting invited to somebody's office. I really do love to be the stranger that walks into town myself. And it's funny because, and I've said this many times in this podcast, but sales gets a bad rep. I really love being sold something. I really, really love when people get me enthusiastic. I give people the opportunity to sell me something so often. I love it so much. And that is almost the same when somebody invites you to their office. They want to make you enthusiastic about them as well. And to have somebody trying to sell their company to you while you are also trying, in your sales process, trying to sell something, that's a very fun combination. And so there is a lot of fun in being in office in sales.
Yeah, it's also fun to look around how other companies organize their office and what the culture is like, and to feel it a little bit. And also tells a lot about a company. And also, if that's because, what did you say? The cash care.
Yeah, the cool, the cash, and the care.
Yeah, so you can really see if they're cool and if they care, because there should be a fit in that term, from that perspective as well. Cool.
You can see the cash as well if you look hard.
Take a lot of these expensive phone booths, then you know that you're good.
Walking in, where's the cash?
Okay, any last words on what salespeople? So I think one of the maybe some little advice on the salespeople become more marketeers, right? So I think a lot of salespeople, they're still doubting if they should use their own LinkedIn network, and if they should post something, they make a big deal out of it. And what can we recommend them to do, because you told it benefits you a lot. So what was your recommendation to them to do a lot more marketing? So
my recommendation for people that also want to try out LinkedIn and posting is climb the mountain of cringe. Now, what does this mean? To climb the mountain of cringe it really sometimes feels like an uphill battle when you're writing also to get something out of it. It's very often that you get perfectionistic about it, and you really have to get over yourself. People ask me quite a lot, like, how much time does it take you to... I post almost daily, and I post almost exclusively things that I am also passionate about, that I also like sharing. And people ask me a lot, like, how much time are you putting into that? Because it feels to them like I'm putting a shitload of time into it. I'm not. I'd say net it cost me 0 minutes, because I just changed from consuming to producing. And I can really recommend to anybody, even if you're not even going to put it online, consume a bit less and produce a bit more. It is so healthy to also filter and edit the things that you consume, and just start doing that and start posting a little bit, and it becomes way easier once you have climbed that mountain of cringe. But yeah, it is going to feel a little bit cringy. I was at a birthday party a while ago, and a friend had a post go a bit viral on LinkedIn, and he never posts. And that can happen quite easily if you have enough value in your post. So there was a university that I reposted it. He did a session there. He brought loads of value in that setting, and the post went viral because there was already some value in that post. And he told me, yeah, but I'm doing other stuff right now, so I can't really go slutting on LinkedIn. And I got a little bit mad at him, like, why would you say that the value that other people say is valuable, why would you call that, slutting or slutting out? I mean, no slut shaming, right? And I got a little bit mad at him, and I was like, so you did a super valuable session at the university. You got great responses to it. People obviously want to get more of that value. And you're saying something along the lines of, no, I don't want to do it because it's a negative thing. And that doesn't make any sense to me. So if you have value, people will find it, people will like it, and people will ask for more. And once you find it, just give it to them.
Yeah, and I love the advice. So I'm not that much on social media, because I always say that I'd rather invest time in making my own life beautiful than watching other people's lives look beautiful, which is not always the case, I believe. So and people really have to understand that it's your own network. All right, so if you're increasing your network, it's your personal network. LinkedIn is still peer-to-peer, so it works way better from a personal account than from a business account. And yeah, obviously it benefits the company as well. But look at the advantage, like the benefits that it brings you if you leverage if you grow your own network, grow your own reach. Like I got around 14,500 people in my network, so this is, I don't know all of them. But it's valuable to me, and the bigger my network is, the more people I will be able potentially to help and to provide value to. So it's not only beneficial for Sprinter Sneakers, but also personally, and for you, same thing. And that also works way better to use your personal.
Yeah. So if I can do one hot take to end our conversation, I'd say that in the near future we will see salespeople that are not tied only to one company. But they will just connect people. They will be problem solvers that can offer a solution. So basically, they will be the connection between somebody looking for a solution and the solution for multiple companies within super clear niches. And it will basically be B2B influencing.
Yeah, you see it already happening now on LinkedIn, because you can already promote posts of people that are not working at your company. So I think, we often say that we have an advantage because we both do B2C and B2B, because it's both a human-to-human approach where we can learn a lot from both the teams if they interact with each other. And LinkedIn is moving towards sort of a B2B. They've been testing with TikTok video kind of things. So I think the difference is gonna not be. There's not going to be such a big difference anymore between other personal platforms on LinkedIn, which is considered B2B. There are going to be influencers there as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that you will get way less people in sales, people being less obvious in sales, and a few salespeople doing 80% of all the sales in B2B.
Yeah, and being that guide or maybe even an influencer, but then in a different form, right? Being an influencer that actually influences you with the product that you're looking for could be potential something that we see more. The salespeople being the guides, like you're saying, being capable of offering more stuff, but really offering the things that fit the need that you have. I think that's a pretty cool trend. Hopefully that we're going to see.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks to have you here. Thanks for being here, Stijn. It was a nice talk, freewheeling about sales, some interesting stuff about AI, what you should use, shouldn't use, some tools that we've mentioned, how you can leverage LinkedIn, and the ever-existing personal approach that you should follow in terms of getting people to close a deal, to sign a contract. So thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
We see each other probably in about a couple of minutes after this pod. Cheers.
All right.
Bye.
Cheers.
So thanks for listening to the Redefine Growth podcast. Hope you liked it. There are more exciting guests lined up. If you have some ideas on who we should invite, leave their names in the comments and try to get them on the pod. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.